If we understand that time equals money, and you're taking your money and you're putting it in things that go down in value, what you're actually doing is devaluing your time. So you're making how much you made on that client, and I'm making how much I made on my salary actually worth less over time when we have too much of our money tied up in depreciating assets. I'm not saying don't ever buy them. I'm saying that be aware of, and every time you put a dollar here and it goes down in value, it's actually taking your time away.
Today's guest is a very diversified gentleman. He is a real estate investor and co-founder with his wife of Align Money Mastery. Today, we will specifically digging deep in how he has helped real estate agents become better stewards of their money, build wealth, and change their family tree. He became a millionaire by the age of 32. Let's welcome the millionaire real estate investor, Bruce Breedlove, to the show.
Oh, yeah, great to be here. What an intro.
I have to ask you that last name. Did you?
It's real. It's my actual last name. Yeah. I was born, and there's not too many Breedloves. There's a shocking amount of Breedloves in Florida, and I'm from Ohio. I had no idea I'd meet more down here, but yeah, that's real. I get asked that all the time. Did you change that? Did you make that up? No, that's real.
Well, there's just those names, and you think about, when we were kids, always got teased, right? Being Tracy, I don't, how many times I've walked in. I always remember 6th grade, walking in the first day, teachers going through roll call, and it's, and of course, all my classmates, I've grown up with them for the last whatever amount of years, and the teacher didn't know me though. She goes, "Tracy, where is she?" And I still get mail, Miss Tracy Hayes, because they don't know.
Yeah,
people. Yeah, I get that all the time.
Especially these days. You never know. You never know.
So Bruce, I want to really spend a lot of time in listening to your other shows and content. There's a lot of information out there. If the listeners haven't heard it on you on other shows, but obviously the financial market, it's in consistent turmoil. So there's new information. Everyone's waiting for when's the the rate's going to drop, or when's something going to change in hopefully a positive direction. So I want to dig into that, but I think it's very important for everyone to know, you've gotten a passion in the financing. You're now consulting, coaching people on their finances and so forth. Where did that come from?
Yeah, really, to fully explain this, I have to go way back. Unfortunately, I grew up in a family that unfortunately struggled with drug and alcohol addiction issues. Grew up really fast, moved out on my own when I was 17. I had $600 in my bank account. I lived in an apartment for free that I borrowed from my ex-girlfriend's sister because it was promised to me, even though we were no longer dating. And, I specifically remember very vividly the first night I laid in that apartment, just thinking like, this is a crossroads in my life, a major crossroads. So I can
How old are we talking about right now?
I'm 17 and a half. I'm still in high school, and I'm living in this apartment, and I remember this is a fork in the road, right? I can either be successful and do everything I need to do to become successful. And I knew maybe it was divine consciousness or whatever, but I knew it revolved around money, right? Or I could be unsuccessful and just fail, right? And that night I made the decision. I had no idea what was going to go into that to be successful, right? And that I would do everything I possibly could to be successful in my life, right? And I knew that it was going to take learning how money worked, how it flowed, how to make it, how to make more of it, and then how to make it work for me, right? So there's a lot of free information out there, and YouTube existed at this time, so I just learned as much as I possibly could. I was still in high school at this time, so I couldn't even open a Roth IRA or a brokerage account myself, and I didn't make that much money. I opened my first Roth IRA at 18. I was working at Dairy Queen making $800 a month, and I only had enough money to put in $50 to my Roth IRA every month, which is almost no money, right? But the point is I started, and then I learned, and then I went to nursing school in 2007. I graduated as a nurse in 2011, only made $800-900 a month that whole time, put myself through college. Luckily, I was good enough academically that I got a full ride scholarship to the University of Akron in Ohio. I didn't have to pay for college. I graduated with the debt-free degree as a nurse. I remember I got out and my first paycheck was $1,200, and I'm like, holy crap. This is so much money. I've never seen this much money at once. And I'm just like, I made it.
Right.
And I sort of felt like the first layer of that scarcity, that like white knuckle mentality I had to have my whole childhood and then my whole young adulthood melt away. Right. So by this time, I was making $65,000 a year as a nurse. And I was 21, started, I enrolled in my 401k. I started investing in that, seeing I was making money every day in the market, right, that I wasn't working for. And I started that snowball early because it happens fast. Once you invest money, it really sort of takes on a life of its own over time, right? So then what happened was I was looking around and I started having conversations late at night with nurses I was working with who had been a nurse for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And they couldn't even spell 401k, right, let alone tell me what it was invested in or how much they contribute or what it means. Right. And then I started realizing like, wow, no one uses a budget. No one really tells their money what to do. So I just started because I care about people, I started just hey, let's pull up your 401k and make sure that, it's not 60% in cash because it's not ever going to grow. Right. So I started just doing that sort of anecdotally when I had time, when people would be willing to.
I want to step back a little bit and go back to that moment. You're sitting there in the apartment. That's not a typical thought process for a 17-and-a-half-year-old. Were you already, seeing things or was it, going online and seeing me talking about money and you're like, well, what do you mean I can, do this or do that? And what caused that thought? Something had to bring it to you that there was another path.
I was pushed up into a corner. If I didn't make a decision to be successful right now, the rest of my life would be predetermined for me. I was in such a precarious situation, pushed up against the wall by reality, that I knew that if I didn't sort of wake up and do what needed to be done to be successful, I wasn't ever going to be successful, right? And I like I said, I don't know where that came from, how I decided that, nor if it was divine consciousness, whatever, that I just knew that I had to figure out how money worked. I mean, you can't go down the street without having a dollar bill to put in your gas tank. So our world, the way it's built before you and I were both here, revolves around money. And for us to ignore that reality,
people laughed at me because in my senior yearbook, I put my quote was, money makes the world go round.
It does. It does.
That was my quote, and they laughed at me for that.
Yeah, but we're also raised to not talk about money and not have open conversations about money, and mom and dad don't tell the kids like, hey, we can't do this and here's why, right? Or like, hey, mom lost her job, it's going to be a little tough, but because there's so much that goes into that, there's so much emotion, there's so much pride, it's taboo in our culture to talk about it, and so these two things coexist at once, right? It's both taboo and unpopular and unsexy to talk about money, but we all need it and we all go to work every day to get it. Those things don't mix, and that's the cause of our lack of financial literacy and financial wellness in our society. So I don't, to answer your question that you pulled us back to, I really can't tell you what brought that to my mind. I was just lucky enough or aware enough that I knew that I had to get my arms around this.
I mean, I got a 14-year-old, and in one thing I really am proud to say is he goes, all these kids are growing up on YouTube. Yeah. YouTube, and he will go on, and he actually is interested in being in front of his classmates, going on and looking up YouTube videos about the subject matter that whatever they're studying. He uses that as a library, which is on steroids, because they're just taking it in their bedroom on their phone, or TV or whatever, or computer. They're just taking this all in. How can we start directing some of these kids at that age to start watching some of these things? We were talk about content creation, finances for kids, which I imagine if we went on there in YouTube right now, somebody hopefully has got that, but it's not exploited. Because I had one of my teammates here at the bank. She deals with credit. If we have people with credit issues, we send it to her, and she spends her time on figuring the puzzle out. Yeah. And one of the questions I had for her when I had her on the show was, should we be teaching this stuff in our high schools, at least some basic level, to hopefully create the interest or thought that you had at 17 and a half?
Yeah. And again, I was just lucky enough to have that. However, my wife found a study that showed that we form our relationship with money by the age of 6. And so I bet that's way sooner than you thought, right?
Yeah.
So how you talk about money in your house, the attitude with which you react to your child when they ask for something shapes them and their relationship with money when they're older, right? And if our parents didn't have their arms around it and their grandparents didn't have, what makes you think that you're going to? So you need to start that education way before high school. 100%. And again, back to your original question, I don't know how I realized that. I just was self-aware enough and aware enough of the world at 17 to make that decision. Mm-hmm. In my mid-20s, I was just casually coaching people when they were willing, right? Because I cared so much about just helping them succeed because I was seeing the benefits of it, that, we would pull up their 401ks, we'd take a look at their stuff, and we'd just make some adjustments, right? And then some people that I coached who I worked with started coming back to me and saying like, wow, you really helped me 3 years ago. Or when we did this, that changed my life. Mm-hmm. And, there was this one woman, I'll never forget her. She came to me and her husband was sick and she went to her financial advisor and she thought she had all this money and so life was happening, right? She was in crisis mode. Unfortunately, her husband who handled the finances passed away, and she came to me and she said like, I need help. So we changed some things with her financial life and she started saving more in her retirement. We invested it correctly, right? And she was able to retire just a couple of years later, and she lives in Argentina now and is living her best life, unfortunately, with her dear husband. But and so that was the first time I'm like, man, I really have something here. Like, right. People need this. I can help people. Like, I have the heart of a teacher. I'm so passionate about when I know something, I'm like, I want to tell everyone. Like, this thing that I learned through my experience and through my research, like, I want you to have this too. It's like something that gives me the greatest joy and it keeps me going, right? And so then fast forward, I started making some content, messing around with stuff. I wasn't very good at it. If you see some of my old videos, those
gotta start somewhere, bro.
Boy, those are cringy. I filmed a selfie in my car one time, and I started saying this. I was riding around today thinking about debt, like, and everyone just turned off. So anyway, back to the Your Money Matters days. Shout out to the followers from then.
Yeah.
So then I sort of went through a difficult time personally. Went through a divorce. Reimagined myself, and that was my entry into real estate. Okay, we can talk about that, but then fast forward to about 12 months ago, a mutual friend reached out and said, hey, I see what you guys are doing. This is awesome. Would love to learn from you. And I was like, yeah, would love to teach you. And I had decided like, I'm not going to give this away for free anymore, because I had given my time away for 8+ years coaching people by that point. And then, so I was like, you know what, here's what I can teach you. I just typed it up in an email real quick, sent it to him. And I said $750. And he's like, boom, done. Venmo'd me the money. And that's it. And I'm like, wow. We actually have a business now. So that was the transition from I just really care about people and want to help them because I've had success with money, to like, hey, Aligned Money Mastery is now a thing, right? And that was 13 months ago. We've helped people pay off, I just calculated the number, $334,000 of debt, save over $45,000 of interest, invest over $200,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we've had 36 families in our program in just over a year.
Wow.
And that's, blast off.
And a lot of it, I assume, is a word of mouth, right? It's not like you're on a billboard out there.
No, I don't do any paid advertising. I'm live on TikTok now. Have a great community over there. My personal Facebook, I just sort of post economic stuff, and then we have open conversations. And I try to bring up things that people need to know in ways that they understand, because I realize that rarely do people fluently speak money language. Okay, so then, so I know that because I've been coaching people for so long. So I take it and I explain it like you've heard, explain like I'm 5. Basically, that's what I do, right? But then we have conversations about it, and then people slowly started seeing me as like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's had some success in his personal world, and it's taken on a life of its own between all of that. But no, I don't pay to advertise. It's my time, it's my effort, it's my relationships that are working for me at this point. Yes.
Right. I'm going to pause on because we're going to pick up that part of the coaching and stuff in just a minute and dig in. But I want to go back. You like said, you got involved in real estate. Obviously, every millionaire, billionaire out there has some portfolio in real estate in one way, shape, or form. At least that's what we're told, right? Which it's factual data has been told to us. When do you start seeing that as an avenue, and how do you when did you just get involved?
Yeah, so I mentioned my entry into making content for my financial stuff, right? And how it was really bad. Someone who was a friend at the time reached out and said, hey, see what you're doing, love it, but you're not going to be successful. In quotations, this person said, you're trying to make money from broke people. And so unfortunately, I listened to that advice. And so I put the financial content, the financial coaching on hold. And that led me to start the real estate brokerage in Jacksonville called Momentum Realty. And this is in the throes of COVID, right? Started at a kitchen table with 3 people, and the idea was brought up to build a brokerage that was for top producers, right? So the reason I was brought in is because I have this intangible skill to take a product and help solve people's problems with that product. That's sales 101, right? Tracy is hungry. I have a hamburger. Boom, sold you a hamburger. And that is at its very infancy how to sell. Okay, so I was brought in to both market, to both design the brand, to both all of this, right? But then also that morphed into me becoming the main recruiter of real estate agents to the brand. So I was sort of the one that was going out and getting the relationships and marketing, right? Momentum. And that led me to get into real estate, learn real estate agents, learn their psyche, met a lot of them. And then I started investing in real estate myself, right? So I did what's called house hacking, right? I was single at the time. So I was taking 20 grand and I was buying a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with 5% down in good neighborhoods, living there for 6 months and then repeating. So I did that for a few years. I met my now wife, and now we have 5 rental properties that are cash flowing, plus a 6th home that is our primary.
Right.
So that's our current portfolio, but we haven't bought since 2021 because it no longer makes mathematical sense.
Yeah. Now and just to ask that question because you brought that up, would you agree or disagree because rates are higher, your cash flow isn't necessarily there? Would you still buy a home buy an investment property if you could right now? Even if you weren't losing money, you were net zero cash flow.
So in order to make money in this, and let me qualify my viewpoint by saying,
because it's more of a long-term play. But go ahead.
Well, let me qualify my viewpoint by saying I know the Northeast Florida real estate market.
Right.
I know, like, we have 5 homes that are in all the different neighborhoods of Jacksonville, right? San Marco, St. Augustine, the beaches, South Side, Mandarin. So that's a pretty good representation of Jacksonville.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we've lost in the last few months between $60,000 and $80,000 of equity in our homes. So home prices are going down in spite of what anyone says in North Florida. Okay. Because I'm seeing it in my portfolio. Okay.
Actually, how are you seeing it in your portfolio? You own the house.
Yeah.
That equity isn't worth squat unless you take it out.
Sure.
How are you actually losing?
Yeah. Well, so on paper, right? Not really, but I check because I'm getting around to answering your question. So on paper, I track what they're worth month to month, right?
Right.
And so this allows me to have a trend of the market at large, right? And again, when I say the market at large, I mean our insulated Northeast Florida market,
yes,
right? In the neighborhoods that I represent, which are diverse enough that I feel it's a
good slice.
It's a super majority of Jacksonville, we'll call it. So to answer your question, if you think about return on investment per dollar, right? If you have to put more money into the deal to make it cash flow, your return on every dollar is actually lower. So yeah, you're cash flowing, but your return on every dollar is way lower than you can get just by buying real estate investment trusts or other dividend producing assets that you can just take $1, put it in there, and it pays you every month like clockwork with, I don't want to say no risk, because there's always risk with investing. However, far less risk than managing a physical asset, having a tenant, etc. It makes no sense. There are real estate investment trusts right now that are beaten down by by interest rates that are paying 15, 16% yearly, paid monthly. And when I say that, people are like, there's no way. There is. I buy them every week. So I track return on investment of every dollar in the portfolio, both traditional investment portfolio and our real estate investment portfolio. And the math doesn't math. If you gave me a house and said, hey, I'll give you this discount, whatever, I'm sure it's going to cash flow, I would still not invest in real estate anymore. It just doesn't make sense.
Not at this moment in time with the current. I
mean, personally, we don't need to anymore. But when the math starts making sense, I'll let you know.
Well, like you said, when you right now today, I mean, back in 19 and 20 and going into 21, it was. I mean,
yes, and that's when I bought them all. This was between 2019 and 2021. I bought all these homes during that time, and it 100% made sense.
Because I don't see, like you said, we were talking, kind of a little bit of pre-show, buyers and sellers, and the price might go up, but you do have a lot of sellers who do want to move, and when the things are right, what are the values going to do? They're going to stagnate. I can't see them going any higher because I think affordability is becoming a huge problem right now.
It's the most expensive time to buy a house since 1984.
Yeah.
Yep. Realtor.com did a study in the largest 50 metro areas in the country. In 49 of them, it was more expensive to it was more expensive to buy than it was to rent. Okay, so if you're someone who's trying to buy a home to live in, right, and own it long term, buy the freaking house, right? If you've been saving up and the numbers make sense and your wife really wants to buy the house, you've got kids and you're running out of room, buy the freaking house. But as an investment, it doesn't make sense to do so. Now, there are other ways. Again, my perspective is I'm a house hacker. I bought the homes with a conventional mortgage. I moved into them, lived there for 6 months, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. There's sub-2 financing. There's tax lien, investing. There's other ways to invest in real estate that might make sense. But from my point of view and on my experience of the type of real estate investing I do, it does not make sense anymore.
You're investing in real estate. Things happen in your life. There's some changes there. Now we're going back to Aligned Money Mastery here 12 months ago. I want to dig in because obviously who referred you, Gigi, who was on here not too long ago. Not that I saw you on, Tanya, and stuff. I just didn't dig into your stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, she thinks you walk on water.
I love you, Gigi.
Yeah. So I want to dig a little bit into from the standpoint of, we don't have to talk about Gigi specifically, and you can mix stories here. Mm-hmm. But how do you break down when a new person you've never worked with before, don't even know, or what are some of the things that you're doing initially? Because obviously you're going to, like a doctor, you're going to diagnose, and then before you give the prescription.
Yeah, and don't forget I'm a nurse too. So the nursing process, the first step is always assess, mm-hmm. right? And this is no different, right? So we take people through what we call affectionately a financial audit. Okay, and I didn't create that term, but it really encapsulates what we do, right? We do this on Zoom with our customers. Last night we just did 4 hours straight of them. Mm-hmm. Half an hour blocks, boom, 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 boom. Random people from across the country that want to get their arms around their finances and know how we can help. Okay, so it starts with the financial audit, and that is, we have on our website we have what's called the 2024 Wealth Building Guide, and mm-hmm. part of that is how to go through a financial audit. It's literally writing down how much is in your checking, how much is in your savings, how much assets you have, 401ks, IRAs, all where you have money and then where you owe money. So all your liabilities, mortgage, HELOC, credit cards, mm-hmm. student loans, car loans, all that bad debt. And then we look at how much you make in a month, and then we look at how much you spend in a month, and look at your numbers. It's like a profit and loss for your personal family, right? And so then, and by the way, that might sound simple to you or maybe someone that's listening, like, oh, of course you would do that. But it's not common for people to have any comprehension of what's going on in their financial world. And that's from my experience. Mm-hmm. So just taking a flashlight and shining that light on their finances, booms, open their mind. And so it's amazing the clarity that people get just from that 30-minute meeting with us. And then immediately I find opportunities to improve their financial situation like quickly, right? Here's a for instance. Some people have credit cards that they haven't dumped out for a while, and there's $220 over here in cashback rewards. Dump that out, pay it on this debt, right? Or a lot of people have Robinhood accounts now and have been trying to do investing, buying crypto and all that. Don't buy crypto, by the way. And so I'm like, okay, no, you're not out making in your speculative investments what you're paying on credit card debt over here. But people don't look at their financial world as a comprehensive picture. They look at it in siloed things and like, oh, I'm trying to invest over here. Oh, and I'm trying to pay off debt over here. You can't, what happens when you try to keep 10 plates spinning? 5 of them end up falling off, and you can barely keep the other 5 spinning, right? So mm-hmm. that's what people try to do, and I feel for them because it's like we're not taught, and that's just our natural inclination to try to do everything, but you accomplish nothing. So back to your original question, how do we meet with people? How do we help with people? It starts with that financial audit, mm-hmm. okay? And once we sort of mutually agree on some immediate steps, we bring people into our program and then execute on those steps, okay? So hopefully that answered your question.
Well, so I want to just go back to the debt.
Yeah.
And we can just keep it as simple as credit cards for this situation. I was listening to one of your other shows there with Tanya, and I think you were, average credit card interest is nearly 30%.
It's 24 now.
24 now?
As of April.
Okay.
Yep.
So 24, you would coach them. First of all, we need to get control of those credit cards. We need to get them down to, we need to really get them down to, ideally, we're paying them off monthly.
Yeah, 100%.
Staying within our means.
But it could be, it's so hard to say. The idea, the thing about debt is it steals your income. Mm-hmm. Debt requires minimum payments, which takes your income from you. Okay. And when you no longer have minimum payments, you have money. and that is, again, I didn't make that up. That's straight from Dave Ramsey. Okay? when you don't have minimum payments, you have money. And then when you have money, you can build wealth and you can live the life that you really want to live. Unfortunately, people outlive their means and end up racking up debt. And especially when in easy money times, we can get back to real estate, but in easy money times like 2019, 2020, when a listing would sell like that for over asking price, you can sort of out earn those bad decisions for a while, but eventually those bad decisions will come to roost. And that's exactly what happened in Q3 of 2023 when the 10-year treasury hit 5% and interest rates were 8%. And real estate agents were looking around like, holy crap, I don't have anything in my checking account.
Right.
And so that's where, with the shows that you mentioned, I was on with Tanya and where we were already doing what we were doing at Align, but that's when a lot of real estate agents entered our world. And that's your Gigi reference. That's when we sort of met and then started working with her.
Well, what happens in the real estate for a real estate agent is every small business, and because they are small, they're each individual. And I think a lot of our consumers, and it's not just small business people, although getting a small business person in line, in control, could be whether or not their business is going to be successful or not. I think there's having been in the mortgage world, and when I started in 2005 at Quicken Loans, we were refinance. We didn't even really do purchase. We did them if someone wanted to do it, but refinance, cash out. I mean, we were pulling $50,000-$60,000 out of a home. Oof. And paying off a lot of times cars, paying off a high debt credit cards to get people in control and go, hey, look, we can refinance. And I know you have opinion on this because I've heard it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we could, you got all this equity in this home, we could pull it out. Your payment's only going to go up a couple $100, but you're going to save $1,500 a month, and all your minimum payments that we're going to consolidate now into the home. And I think the risk for a W-2 employee is they think their job is going to be there forever. And I think they go thinking the tree is always going to have money for me to pull off of, and therefore don't go, let me go buy that boat. And not realize this. I'm going to choose boats because I'm a Freedom Boat Club member. I grew up on boats. They are holes in the water you pour money into. There is a reason why that is the phrase for them. Do not buy your own boat.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
You got to have a friend with a boat.
Yeah. And unless you got that exorbitant amount of money, which you have no problem losing or taking on water, basically, in your financial world.
Sure.
But if you're just a weekend boater, one day a week, which I think for someone who owns trailers a boat, one day a week, 50 weeks of the year is a lot of use of their boat. Those boats sit there. RVs, they say that the average person doesn't even use them, 30 days of the year. But you're paying for the storage of them because our HOAs don't allow you to park them there. Yep. And then you're obviously paying the note on it, the insurance, and all those other things. Just go and rent and pay a little bit more when you use it, when you want to go, until you become that, you want to become. But these type of little things, because obviously we got to enjoy the pleasures of life. We don't work. You got type of thing. I know you're over there sighing. Thoughts are going through your head.
I'm excited.
You're excited to jump into this. Okay, so I'm going to lead this super. But I know, and we know nationally, the credit card debt is at its highest. It's
1.3 trillion.
Yep. And continue growing because a lot of these people think those W-2 jobs are going to last forever. You've got to get your house in order as well. What are you spending every week on Friday night or going out to dinner? We're just going. And then they find out, oh my God, I got all this credit card debt. Now I need this. Now we're into the house sell, which I know you and Tanya, which I wanted to dig into. Mm-hmm. We have sellers on the sideline, or we mentioned pre-show a little bit. You're starting to see some distressed sales because people have gotten themselves in some bad spots.
Yeah. Whew, a lot to dig in there. So let's go back to, I want to talk about, first of all, in our program and the way I coach, we don't coach from a scarcity mindset. We don't coach from a scarcity perspective. Mm-hmm. I want Tracy to buy every boat that he wants and every RV that he wants. I want to put you in a situation to where you can do that with confidence, right? And it won't make you make difficult decisions down. That's how we coach, right? And we are not like, I am not like, oh, nope. How dare you spend that money? No. We are, you're an adult, I'm an adult. Let's make a plan together and I will walk you through how to hit your goals financially and align, hence the name, align your dollars with every goal that we've discussed and mutually agreed upon. Okay.
Awesome.
But, and everything that you're talking about is the smoke, right? The smoke is high credit card debt. Oh my gosh, I have to remortgage my house to pay off my credit card debt. I have a boat and a car and an RV, but I can't pay my credit cards off. That is the smoke. The fire is the disordered relationship with money. Just clip that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the smoke is all of the symptoms, right? The fire is the lack of control and understanding and discipline with managing money. And a lot of it is a knowledge deficit, right? It's a lot harder. It's a lot easier of a sell to say, man, you're really going to have a good time on that boat than it is to say, hey, let's do the math around that boat, right? That is a whole lot less sexy than the selfies you take on your boat in the summertime. And so the smoke and having too much of your financial world tied up in assets that go down in value, we call financial gravity. Okay, so when you make $100,000 a year and you have $40,000 invested in things that go down in value, that creates financial gravity, and the pull is on your net worth. Okay. So when you have a car, RV, and a boat, right, all things that go down in value, and you've spent 40% of your yearly salary on those things, that 40% of your salary turns into 30 and 20 and 10 really quick. And that's financial gravity, right? There's this thing called the time equals money equation that I talk about all the time, okay? You and me, we both still get up every day and work our jobs, right? I'm a salaried employee at my pharmaceutical sales job. You work on commissions, correct? Mm-hmm. So, but what we share is that we both have to spend a certain amount of time to get a certain amount of money. Now, you have an advantage over me, even though I have commissions too, but let's just use a W-2 versus a 1099 example, right? You have an advantage because the bigger problem that you sell, the more money you make, right? So your money's less tied to time than mine is. However, you still have to get up, come into the office, talk to clients, et cetera, right? So you spend a certain amount of time to get a certain amount of money. I spend a certain amount of time to get a certain amount of money every 2 weeks of my salary, right? Mm-hmm. So we naturally have a cap on what we can make because there's only 24 hours in the day, right? So we have these natural limitations on what we can make because of the amount of time we have. Now, as you get better and meet more customers and higher net worth customers, you'll make more money, right? But the time equals money equation says you can only make as much money as you have time. Now, the idea is to break that and to have investments that make passive income for you to pay your bills. However, most people never sort of escape the time equals money equation. Mm-hmm. So if we understand that time equals money and you're taking your money and you're putting it in things that go down in value, what you're actually doing is devaluing your time. So you're making how much you made on that client, and I'm making how much I made on my salary actually worth less over time when we have too much of our money tied up in depreciating assets. I'm not saying don't ever buy them. I'm saying that be aware of, and every time you put $1 here and it goes down in value, it's actually taking your time away. Not your, and people think like, oh, I can outmake this. I make enough money. I deserve this. But the math is unforgiving. The math doesn't care how you feel. So when you have too much of your world tied up in depreciating assets, that's what causes this difficulty with money and the boats and the RVs and everything. Like that's a physical representation of what's really happening in those people that have too much of their world wrapped up in things that go down in value.
Right.
What were we talking about before that?
Well, it goes to some of the things I wanted. You were rattling off with Tanya some statistical data.
Yeah.
We were just talking about a few things. Obviously, the credit card debt and so forth. You mentioned on the show, which you were saying earlier, that you people kind of look at you, sideways. But we do have this. We're talking about. I'll step back a little bit to kind of give some background to this question. In the mortgage world right now, we are talking about, refinances are just, little to none because the rates are so high. But when the rates go down, we're going to be in a refinance, let's say boom. I think it'll be boom compared to what the last 24 months have been.
Maybe, and we'll go over that.
Because of the situations that we're talking about, they're racking up the debt. But the statement you made is there's a lot of sellers, not only for financial situations, but there's also, we talked about there's what was going on here for probably the last decade was people were moving from neighborhood to neighborhood because the rates were so low. They're like, well, I can go live by my friend over there, or I don't like this neighborhood anymore. It's gotten older. I want to get a new home, and I want to move to Nocatee because it's got the splash park or whatever it was. They were making those moves. They're not so many. There's some, but those moves are not happening right now as fluently as they've been in the last decade because obviously where the interest rates are at. But you were saying there's some pent up sellers right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been catching crap for this since mid 2021 that I've been saying this, but. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just economically think about it, right? And this is these numbers I'm about to quote are from last summer, so it could be slightly different. But but 90% of mortgages were financed below 6%. 60% of them were below 4%. So when the 10-year Treasury hit 5% and interest rates were 8%, right? Why on earth, unless I have real life circumstances, a job, relocation, I need another bedroom because I had another kid, right? Why on earth would someone be selling their home to assume a mortgage that's possibly twice what they currently have now? And by the way, home prices have gone up, so that compounds the effect of high interest rates on a monthly payment, right? So what I've been saying ever since the interest rates have started increasing at the fastest rate in history, by the way, and the highest since 2000, making affordability the worst since 1984, is that more and more, or less and less people are qualified or willing to buy, right? So then that tips our demand down, right, for purchasing homes. And at the same time, it's compounded by people selling less often, right? And so that's what we saw between 2021 and late 2023 is like buyer demand was decreasing, less people were selling, right? So our inventory was at this crunch. But what's happened since then, and so let's also shift our eyes to economic circumstances. Listen to this. I just heard this on the way here. 401k hardship withdrawals have doubled since 2022. Let me say that again. 401k hardship withdrawals have doubled since 2022. Credit card debt is at this highest amount in history at $1.3 trillion. Okay. The savings rate is the lowest it's been since mid 2000s, meaning if I make $1,000 a month, how much of that do I actually keep in my world? So the consumer, the middle class individual, the normal person is crunched. By the way, we didn't even mention inflation, which has been a cumulative effect of about 21% over the last 3 years. The government won't tell you that, right? So the consumer is crunched. So what happened in the third quarter of 2023 is that something shifted, right? These hardships got great enough that people started needing to sell financially. Now everyone says, well, if they sell, where are they going to move? And that doesn't make any sense. But yes, it doesn't make sense. However, the math, again, is unforgiving and it does not lie. So if I'm getting a piece of mail in my mailbox every 3 days that says, oh, refinance your house, I'll give you $50,000 to pay off high interest debt, you think I'm going to do that? Because it's going to make me feel like I did something. And by the way, I have a lender telling me, and I don't mean to point at you, I have a lender over there telling me that, well, your interest rate on your credit card is 27% and the HELOC is 10 right now, which isn't untrue. However, I want to play this game with you. You probably heard me do this. What happens when you don't pay your credit cards? What happens?
Oh, you're going to suffer on your financial state. Your credit
score is going to get
go
trashed.
down.
You're going to have some sweaty guy calling you saying, if you don't pay, I'm going to whatever, blah, 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 to your mom.
A lot of other things start costing more.
100%. Insurance
and all that. Yeah.
Which all that's horrible, right? We don't want that. But what happens when you don't pay your HELOC?
Oh, you're going to foreclose on your house?
They take your freaking house.
Yeah.
So if you think from a risk perspective, why would I finance high interest debt on my house when I need it to live in and it keeps my kids dry and warm and cool in the summer?
Right.
Why on earth would I do that? Especially because when people refinance high interest debt on HELOCs, they think, whew, I did something. You didn't do anything. You're playing a shell game with debt, and that causes their their intensity of wanting to get out of their situation the correct way to go from 10 to 3, and the behavior doesn't change. That's what we see, and that's the later downstream effect of these refinance HELOCs that are cash out refis or HELOCs that pay off high interest debt, but then the behavior doesn't change.
Well, it was your analogy of the smoke and the fire. If that's the smoke, the fire is you have a spending problem.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's not the sexy thing to talk about.
Yeah.
It's not easy to talk about it. And our class turns into marriage counseling and therapy real quick. but it's because we care and we pull back the doors and bust open the books on the numbers and we show you what's really going on and support it with math. So that's quarter 3, 2023. The consumer's crunched. And by the way, real estate agents aren't making money. So they're feeling the burn because all that stuff that I mentioned applies to them. Plus they're making less money in their business. So they got hit twice, right? With these difficult economic situations. So real estate agents are really feeling the burn in quarter 3 of 2023, right? And so that, again, we had a lot of them enter our program for that reason. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't pay my bills. But then what happened is sellers started like listing their homes. They started, in spite of what the interest rates were, we saw active listings in the United States hit the highest point in Q4 of 2023. So, and I know we
highest point compared to
it nationally
in the previous year.
I think it was since 20. I could find that number, but it's either 2019 or
right.
It's
not
it was
ever.
Before.
It was just over that period of time.
Yeah, but what we saw is the amount of active listings in the United States. I'm not talking about Jacksonville, in the U.S. hit its all-time high in Q4 of 2023. And what that's telling me is people are selling their homes and for economic reasons. What other reason would that be? And then also people aren't buying them at the same rate because if inventory is increasing, that means supply is outpacing demand. Correct?
Well, just in we're seeing migration. Because of the higher cost states, whether it's taxes, just general cost of living, states of higher fuel taxes, all these things added up, and these people are migrating. Some of them obviously are fortunate, maybe work remote, or they are able to get a job in another state, whatever it may be, and they're able to make that move. But it's like I said, I agree with good. I think a good part of that migration. Some of it's pleasure, like, hey, we wanted to move to another state, but I would say 3/4 of it is when they looked at their finances, say, we can't afford to live here anymore.
Well, and why would you when you're paying close to 30% of your overall income in a state like California?
Yeah.
I mean, and what you're bringing up, it builds the case for real estate being hyper local. Obviously, we have net inflow migration to Jacksonville and Florida in general, so that helps the supply demand stay in a more healthy way where home prices aren't really going down a ton. Even though my theory is that they are right now. Not theory, it's supported by my math, but I'm saying that they are on your show. And yeah, and that again, that changes then area to area. Places like Southern California where people are leaving in droves, right? I would be more hard pressed to sell than someone would necessarily here. So that changes the dynamic, locality to locality of it. But the trend across the country is the same. As far as active listings are increasing, average sales price is either stagnating or slightly dipping.
Homes staying on the market longer.
Exactly. Now here's a great example: Crystal Lake, Illinois, random place, right? My in-laws live there. They listed their house on Thursday, and they had an offer the next night. But in that hyper locality, people are moving out of Chicago City and they're moving to the suburbs of Chicago, which is Crystal Lake. So again, we all know this. Everyone who's watching this knows that real estate's hyper local, but that's a case study in why, right? And so their average days on market's like 10. And whereas ours is close to 30.
I think it's in the 40s.
Yeah. So it's going up.
It's not pushing. I'm as an agent, I'm not an agent, so I don't study it. But
but it's increasing over time.
All right.
Recently.
So I want to do a little infomercial on your service. You've now dealt with you said you dealt with 36 families. A number of them were real estate agents. Since we're on the Real Estate Excellence podcast, let's talk in general terms about some of the issues maybe you dealt with or you saw that what they were doing and corrected them, and some of them other people are maybe doing, maybe the individuals you weren't doing, but how they're running their real estate business as a real estate agent, and some of these broad things that you can help, that you're seeing that you can help them get it back on track.
Yeah, so my messaging since the beginning of the year has been how to win with money in 2024 and beyond. That's the beyond is in parentheses. Specifically for real estate agents. Okay, so what we see is the average real estate agent obviously is normally a sole proprietor. If they have a team, great, but I'm talking about that solo agent that is buying and selling homes, right, at a regular brokerage. Okay. So you are a 1099 employee. The number one thing I see is people are not running their business as a business as far as this. They don't have an LLC and file as S Corp when they file taxes. And so what does that mean, right? An LLC is a legal protection, right? Your business becomes an entity that is not yourself and provides you some legal protection, but also tax benefits, right? Now, it's nearly irrelevant if you don't file your LLC as an S corporation, which allows you to save on self-employment taxes. In order to be eligible to be an S corporation, you have to pay yourself in a certain way. The IRS wants to see that your LLC is a pass-through entity and allows you to pay yourself as a employee of the LLC. Okay. And that saves you that self-employment tax, just as 15 point something %. Right. So that's the number one thing I see. People aren't running their business as a business, as in managing their revenue and their expenses properly. Okay. So if you're listening to this and you're a real estate agent and you don't have an LLC and you don't file as an S Corp, you need to change that immediately. There's a lot of misconception out there of, oh, well, you have to make this much. No. There's no rule that you have to make a certain amount to be eligible for an LLC S corp. Okay, so let's break down that and why that's what I'm seeing. So you get a closing check at the table, right? Let's say it's $30,000, right? If you're doing this correctly, your broker is paying your LLC the check, right? He's not paying it to you. Your name should not be on the check. It should be your LLC, DBA, whatever.
Which
right?
might be Sally Smith LLC,
Sure.
but it's still LLC.
Exactly. Yeah. Sally Smith LLC. Got a $30,000 check. Here's what you need to do. You need to take that money, put it in your business checking account. Okay. Now, then you should also have a business credit card that you use for all business expenses. And I said all business expenses, not personal. And yes, I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. Because what we see is someone's Netflix is going on their business credit card. Someone's their gym is like the finances are all intermingled and that's called,
which technically breaks the corporate veil.
I was just going to say that's called piercing the corporate veil. And if you ever get audited, don't call me.
Yeah.
but really, this is serious.
Yeah.
So here's what we see. So you get that $30,000 closing, right? You immediately deduct how much you owe on your business credit card. Okay, that's your business expenses for the month. And we built a spreadsheet in conjunction with an accountant that literally walks you through step by step how to do this. You put
and
in
some of these credit cards are set up precisely for that. If you're running your business through, it helps you. I know American Express will categorize and make the paperwork a little easier.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
not selling them or anything, but
there's better platforms. But yes, you're correct. There's stuff out there that you can leverage to make it easier. Mm-hmm. But I'll clear the deck and make it the easiest possible here in a minute. So you get that $30,000 pay. I want you to immediately pay off your business credit card. Let's say you have 3 listings and there's $7,000 on your credit card. Pay it off. Okay, so you've got $23,000 left over. Now you're not taxed on that $7,000 you just paid off on your credit card because that's
cost
business
of
expensive. Exactly. So you have $23,000 of not profit but revenue after expenses, right? So that's $23K. Immediately, I want you to take that and I want you to split it in a couple ways, right? You have to be paying yourself a salary. And the IRS, to be eligible for an S corp, says you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. Now, your next question will logically be, well, what's a reasonable salary?
Right.
The IRS doesn't tell you. So that's another gotcha by our great Internal Revenue Service. Right.
But they don't want to because they themselves are doing it themselves.
Right. So what we normally start people at is pay yourself a $250 salary twice a month. Now, why this is relevant is because, again, to be eligible as
I had in my mind just W-2 yourself $1,000 a month because you technically...
Yes. However, what we find and why we start at $250 is most people have a lot less money in their business than they want.
Right.
And there's not that much money to pay themselves a salary until we build up something I'm gonna refer to. You've paid off your expenses. You have a after expenses of $23,000, and we've decided that you're gonna pay yourself $250 every 2 weeks as a salary. Again, to be eligible as an S corp, you have to pay yourself a salary with a time schedule that is the same every 2 weeks. We just pick that. Yeah. So we have people set a reminder on the 8th and the 23rd, pay yourself $250. Okay. Now, once you've done that, you have sort of profit after expenses, after salary. Okay. Then what we decide is, okay. And by the way, that salary you pay yourself, you have to save payroll tax inside your business when you do that, right? And people's heads are spinning right now. They're like, how am I supposed to do all this?
Well, it's such a minor amount of money, not really something.
Yeah, but to be surprised that payroll taxes are due on January 15th of the next year, there's no excuse for that because it's the same for every LLC S corporation, right? And again, we built a spreadsheet that literally does all this for you. But then you have, so 30,000 minus 7 minus your salary, you have, let's call it 21,000 left over, okay? Then you have to decide, okay, how much money am I going to keep inside my business? And then how much money am I going to pay myself as a monthly dividend, okay? And that's where people really make the big mistake, okay? You have to pay yourself a salary and a dividend from your business when you close your books at the end of the month, okay? But there's also this thing that large corporations use called retained earnings, okay? If you look up in the tax code how much an S corporation can keep inside their business, it says up to $250,000. And by the way, if you don't take that money out of your business, you don't pay taxes on it. So if I leave up to $250,000 inside my business entity, inside that corporate veil, you don't have to pay taxes on it until you take it out. So what we teach people...
So if you don't need it...
Well, exactly. And this is also saving...
Need it personally versus the business.
This is also a saving for the next Q3 of 2024. So you can keep paying yourself out of your business so your business can keep funding your life in times where there's no business, right? So we coach people to have 6 months of business expenses saved in a taxable brokerage account that is in the name of your LLC. Okay, let me run that back. 6 months of expenses inside your business kept in a taxable brokerage account in the name of your LLC at Vanguard. Vanguard is a brokerage. You can go to vanguard.com. You can open up a taxable brokerage account in the name of your business. Okay. And I want you to keep 6 months of expenses inside your business. So if you spend $7,000 to run your business, I want you to save $42,000 inside your business. Okay.
In this brokerage account.
In this brokerage account. By the way, that's going to make you money while it's just sitting there waiting for you to use it. So this money isn't doing nothing, right? Also, in that same account, we're escrowing your payroll taxes for you, so that January 15th of 2025 rolls around, you're not surprised. Oh my God, I have to pay taxes. No, it's already been escrowed. And by the way, it's been making money in that account while it's been waiting to be put on your taxes. Okay. Now, once let's say in this situation, we do $4,000 of retained earnings this month, right? So we did 30,000 down to 23 after expenses, down to 21 after salary. Now we're saving $4K in retained earnings that's going to stay inside the business. We're down to 17K. You get to pay yourself $17,000 dividend after the month ends. This is how to run a real estate business. Okay. And who's doing this? Nearly no one. And I can say that because I'm not an agent or a broker or whatever. And it's also because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so if you're hearing any of this and you're like, oh my God, I've never heard this, I'm not surprised, right?
Right.
It flabbergasts me why brokerages are not teaching this. This is so valuable. And what a great recruiting tool to help our agents run their business better, so they stay longer, so they stay in the business longer, so they can feed their family and build their big life by just teaching them this basic stuff.
Right. Right.
And by the way, that money that you pay yourself as a dividend, you save on self-employment tax. You don't pay. So you're saving 15% on everything that you pay yourself as a monthly dividend. And over years, oh my God, that's a lot of money. How many closings is that in a year? Just by doing the diligence to structure it correctly and to use the restraint to say, okay, just because I got a $30,000 check doesn't mean I get to go buy that new car or that boat or whatever, because there's a lot of zeros on this check and I'm like so excited, right? Unfortunately, and I say this with utmost love because a lot of my close friends are real estate agents, people that you're not managing your money correctly. And this boom and bust cycle that you find yourself in, like, oh my gosh, I don't have money, I got to go hustle. Oh my God, I hustled so hard, I made a lot of money, I need to rest. Oh my God, I don't have any closings, I need to hustle. I see this, right? There's a way out of that rat race cycle. Okay, and we haven't even gotten to saving for retirement or investing. We've just gotten to how to run your business to fund your life so you're not running at breakneck speed for the next 30 years. So feel free to unpack any of that.
Yeah. Well, what was going through my head is, some of the, the standard expenses the agent might have, whether they're, if they're paying for staging or their signage, if they're whatever advertising they're doing, print or whatever. But I think one of the biggest expenses they have is the vehicle, because the miles they put on it. Should they be treating their vehicle in this?
As a depreciating asset. No one's buying a house from you because you have a BMW or a Mercedes or a whatever, or a Tesla. No one's buying a house from you for that. Should you have a beat up car that they can hear coming down the street? No, but it's not, you can choose a middle road, right? Look at your car as, again, we talked about financial gravity earlier, something that's going to take money from you. To put 2 or 3 or 4 closings into a car makes those 3 or 4 closings worth one in a year and a half from now. I want you to avoid depreciating assets like it's the plague. So you also should, again, run your business like a business and keep track of how many miles you drive, because that's depreciable against your business, right? Those are expenses that you incur. So something I see lovingly, I'm saying this, a lot of my real estate friends fall into is they immediately upgrade in lifestyle as soon as they start seeing some business. And what happens when you upgrade in lifestyles? You're increasing your monthly liability, which then makes you have to work harder or gain more market share to pay your life just to remain at zero.
Right.
And these are abstract conversations and concepts for people who don't speak financial language fluently, which not many people do. And that's okay, because this is an established problem in our society, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, it's like losing weight, right? I mean, you could start today. I mean, it helps.
I should actually.
It's great if you did it back when you were 25. I mean, to see some of the agents that I've had on that are sub 30 years old that are really doing well, I mean, it's like, whoa, and then they're, had Holly Reeves Griggs on. I mean, she had another career and so forth. And, you know, in just 6-7 years, I think she started in 16, 17, something like that. I mean, the volumes that she's doing, you know, in a different time, different place in her life. But you could start doing this today to rectify the ship. It's not like, oh, I've been a real estate agent for 10 years now and I haven't been doing it, but you're still not healthy. You can turn that health around today and move forward. But from a car standpoint, I mean, should they be? Is there anything like buying it in the LLC? I mean, is there any? It doesn't really matter.
No, that doesn't matter.
You know, because as the IRS saying, well, how much are you using it for pleasure versus?
Yeah,
you know,
you're logging business miles,
Yeah.
and that's miles that
which
you
a lot
drive.
of people don't actually do. They just make it up.
Yeah, but the goal would be, I just want you to avoid as much as possible having your money, and this is inside or outside your business, because the math is the same, having too much money in depreciating assets, period.
Yeah.
And this is a larger conversation about real estate and falling into vanity and making it look like you have the appearance of success, but what is really success? You are a sole proprietor of a business, you're an entrepreneur to have a business with unlimited earning potential to fund your life forever, right? So if you're finding yourself getting further and further away from financial independence, you got to change something. And if you're more and more stressed about paying your bills or running your business, you're doing something incorrectly. It doesn't have to be that way. And
you probably, I imagine you believe, because I've heard a lot of these listening to, whether it's podcasts or me, you know, the different reels, these guys say, hey, if you want to go drive that $120,000 Tesla, it's going to cost you $1,500 a month or whatever it is, then you need to go find a cash flowing investment to offset that thing. But you're right, I do see, there's agents going out there buying, whether it's a Tesla or and we know Mercedes is the thing, or the BMW, which is like, is that really getting you more what is that actually getting you? Because after about a year, all of us are ready, like, we'd love to have a new car every year, but we stick in, and the great thing about Florida is cars will last 5-10 years if you buy the right one. It's
giving you the feeling that, hey, I'm doing well, right? Because I'm buying things that make me feel good, but they're actually stealing from you. Like we've talked about financial gravity multiple times. My question to that person who went out and said, oh, I needed to go, I had a large tax bill, so my accountant said, go buy a Tesla and okay, well, did your accountant also tell you can open up a SEP IRA and save $69,000 and take that as a tax cut? No. But because that's not as sexy, it doesn't sell, right? But if I can tell you that $69,000 will create you $690 a month of passive income inside your SEP IRA, and that's about 12% a year, and then by the time you're this age, it'll be this much. That vision of the future, and that vision, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to get up and hustle every day. And by the way, what I'm doing every single day gets me closer to that. That's sexy.
Yeah.
That I have goosebumps just saying that, because everyone listening to this can accomplish that. We're focused on the wrong things, and it's not unique to real estate agents. This is a real estate podcast.
No,
so let's stay on this, but this is everyone who's listening to this. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. I was just talking to someone last night. We doing a financial audit, 50 years old, has zero money in her bank account. She makes $3,000 a month. She lays her head on her pillow at night and worries about money every night. Do you know how much that hurts me inside? It doesn't have to be that way. Like, there's a reason there's a cliche that's like spending like Congress. Don't do that. Don't fall into the trap of getting the newest thing. Don't fall into shiny object trap. And unfortunately, real estate agents are so guilty of this. And I want to just shake y'all sometimes lovingly again, because there's a way out of this hustle, putting in open house signs when it's 99 degrees at 8 a.m. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. I want you to hustle. I want you to grind. That's why I wore this shirt, because you can make such a difference in your life, because you have unlimited earning potential. And I don't want you to get kneecapped by focusing on the wrong things.
Well, you said you had you were talking about earlier, you had a spreadsheet to do some of these things.
Yep.
How simplified have you made it, for some of these agents because you understand the business, you've been involved in the business, you've now coached, counseled several of them on what's going on. How simple have you made this? I mean, is it really a lot of extra time or a couple of hours of getting your LLC squared away, getting your EIN or whatever? I mean, how simple have you made it?
So the setup, obviously, like many other things, will be the majority, right? However, the spread is, so getting your LLC, and there's a lawyer in town that's offering to do this for free. And if anyone wants to know, just DM me. I'll get you in contact with them. For that setup. It doesn't cost any more. Maybe it costs a couple $100 more to file as a S corp, but the real management, the month-to-month management, is using our spreadsheet. And we created it. It looks like a monthly ticket. You put in how much you made, you put in your business expenses, you put in the salary you paid yourself. It automatically calculates your payroll tax for the month, and then it tells you where to send it. Then it takes your net earnings after those things, and literally it's if you can put a listing into the MLS, you can do this. Like, it's not any, trust me, it's like color coded and it's nice font, and like, it's very easy. People can find it by going to our website and looking at our products, and I think it's $23 to download. Anyone can do it. It's not, I don't think it's difficult. And when we coach customers in our coaching platform, we give that to them for free, and then we help them manage their money and their business using that spreadsheet.
How long is generally someone, is this the process 3 or 4 months, 6 months? You've got them. I mean, what's generally the time period that you're?
Yeah. So let's talk. This is a perfect segue into like what we do and how we do it. So Align Money Mastery, again, alignmoneymastery.com is our company. We call it personal finance coaching. It is like you hire a personal trainer to get you physically fit. You hire us to get you financially fit. It's literally no different. So we have 3 access points to our program, our flagship program. And I mentioned, almost an hour ago, that email that I sent to my friend said, I'll do this for you. I'll teach you all this. It costs $750. We formalized that into a class that we've now run 20 plus people through. It's 3 months long. It's called our 3-month mastery class, 3-month money mastery class. And it's full for the summer. We can't accept any more people. We're accepting people for fall, which would be late August. And so it's 3 months long. There's 6 classes. Okay. And a normal month looks like this. Week 1 is a group class of one of those 6. Week 2 is a one-on-one budget meeting. Week 3 is another group class. And then week 4 is what we call an optional accountability meeting, where you can come on, you have an hour with us. You can speak about anything you want, clarify some topics in the class, talk about something that came up in your life, whatever. Right. So it's 5 hours a month of commitment for a student to come in, and it's 3 months long. And the reason why people hear 3 months and like, oh my God, that's a long time. No. For us to teach you everything that we teach in this in a Saturday afternoon seminar, it would not have the impact that it does when we're walking with you step by step for 3 months and managing your money with you as life happens as it does. People enter with a lack of financial understanding about their personal world, and they leave with what we call money mastery, which is how to manage money with whatever life throws at you. And by the way, when you join this, you're on our platform forever. You're in our Facebook group. You can reach out to us at any point. You can come back to the classes as many times as you want in the future, period.
Right.
And the real benefit there is, yes, it's the knowledge. It's yes, how to invest. It's yes, how to budget. It's yes, how to pay off debt. But it's the accountability of walking hand in hand with you, managing your money with you, with your specific situation. I don't know of something that exists like that. There's plenty of people that are teaching how to budget based on these random 50, 20, 20 rules or whatever. But we customize it to you and walk with you hand in hand through your finances for 3 months. That's number one. That costs $750 right now. Again, it's full for the summer. Can't accept anyone else. Our second access point is what we call online monthly coaching. Okay. And this is where we've seen the biggest growth over the past month, specifically because we're out of money mastery summer class spots. But and this is where people, they pay us $100 a month. You get all the classes that we teach in the full 3-month class, but they're pre-recorded and they're available in the portal on our website. So today, if Tracy wanted to sign up, you go to our website, you sign in, you register. It is $100 a month subscription. It's just like Netflix. You can stop at any time, which, by the way, we've only had one person leave because they just stopped showing up and doing.
They probably just didn't space the time to watch.
I mean, any
after
personal
a while,
trainer,
you're like, oh man, I'm not even watching these videos. I better cut this out.
They just didn't want to do what we were. It gets hard sometimes, and we have had people drop out because it gets real.
Yeah.
So anyway, $100 a month. You get 1 hour with us a month, and you can either split that 60 minutes one time or 30 minutes twice. And all these meetings you schedule. We have our availability on Calendly. You go on and you schedule when you want to schedule. That's $100, and you get all the classes, and you get 1 hour with us a month. And that's where we've seen the most growth again. And a lot of our people who leave the 3-month class end up going to that monthly to stay with us and keep us working with them.
Someone calling you?
Well, no, it's TikTok. It's having me like verify that I'm real. It does that every so often. and again, you get all the class content from the full class, and definitely you can stay with us as long as you want, and you can leave at any point. The goal is to get you to a point where you're like, I got it. I've learned everything I need to learn, and leave. We don't want you to stay with us forever. We want you to learn everything. Trust me, we would welcome you to, but like all of our are designed to teach you what you need so you can go out and teach your family and do it on your own. Our third access point is what we call Align Elite, which is passive income investing. We have built a portfolio that pays us over $4,200 a month in passive income, apart from our real estate portfolio, every single month. And it's just simple investing. It's not crypto. It's not index universal life insurance. It's not any of this speculative, crazy, shiny stuff. It is good old-fashioned investing in dividend-producing securities that pay you every single month. We are averaging in our portfolio, and I freely publish my portfolio on online. Anyone can see how we're investing. 13.15%, I just calculated on Sunday, yearly paid monthly, and anyone can do it. Literally anyone can do it. And what happens when you start doing this is you start building a monthly paycheck that then you reinvest, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And before you know it, you have a realistic path to early retirement. And what I mean early is before 59 and a half, when you can use your 401ks, IRAs, et cetera. And what people pay for that is 10% of the passive income you make per month. So if we coach you and you make $1,000, I'll invoice you for $100. And then again, what you're getting is my education and insights on what to buy, when to buy it, because I'm doing it too.
How are you tracking what they're?
Yeah. So we just put a quick 15-minute calendar invite, and we when you sign the agreement, you put what account we're helping you manage. And in the agreement, it says it's called the 10% passive income payment policy. It's just that as long as you're in the program, your subscription to stay in the program is 10% of whatever you made the previous month. So if you make nothing, you pay nothing. And again, that's what sets us apart from other people. When you use normal.
So I got my little E-Trade. I got my little Play IRA in there, I call it. I haven't done with it actually over probably since last 2 or 3 years, but obviously I've got Facebook in there, which dropped. It went to we were in on the IPO with Facebook.
Yeah.
As well as Dream Finders, this was Jet. I bought some additionals through that little IRA, but some other stuff I little played with. So is that like an account I can go in there and
100%.
take your 100%. Advice, sell some of that and buy some of that?
100%.
Yeah.
And what this is different than traditional investing, which is what you're discussing, which when you buy a company and hold it and hope it goes up in value. In order to use that as income, you have to sell portions of your position, right, to fund your life. That's not how we do it. Dividend investing allows you to plant a tree that creates you fruit that you just pick off. You're not cutting branches off the tree. You're taking the fruit that it provides you, and the tree is left intact.
Yeah.
And what happens is it's really crazy. This is how we will retire at 40. I'm 35 now through doing this. I mean, if you look at our content, just in October, I think we had like $20 or $2,000 a month of passive income. We now have, this month we're like on track for 4,500 this month. And just because we're investing every extra dollar we have in it, plus reinvesting the dividends, it grows so fast.
In these investments that produced a dividend, that's where a lot of people don't know. Well, I mean, even myself, where these are at, right? These companies that pay dividends.
It's so easy. It's it's so easy. It would make you puke. People online, especially online personalities, online gurus, which I guess I am one now, say that they try to make it sound complicated. But it's like so easy, it would just make your head spin. Like, it's not that hard. And very often on TikTok and on my content, I say our portfolio, and again, I'll show it to you. We are netting 13.15%, okay, yearly paid monthly, okay, and that's over 1% a month that we're just reinvesting. It's not hard to do, and I don't pay someone to do it. Like, I will teach you how to do it. And that's, again, back to Align Elite. That's the value we're bringing for people we don't accept everyone into that. You've got to have your debt paid off. Like, I'm not going to teach you how to dividend invest if you're messing with debt. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And by debt, I mean, not like good debt, like on rentals or on mortgage. I mean, like credit card, HELOC, student loan, that, et cetera. Right. And what we find is people join the 3-month class. They either transition to the online monthly coaching if they want to stay with us. If not, because they learn what they need to learn, they move to the passive income investing piece where we can help them then, because they've already paid off their debt after our 3-month class, and then invest for financial independence. So that's what we do. And again, it's 10% of what you make, but you can leave at any point. If you're like, you know what, I got it. You taught me everything I need to leave. We don't want you to stay with us forever. That's not how we designed it.
Right. Let's take these last just a few minutes we were just discussing before the show, our personal opinions on the greater market.
Yeah, let's do it. I love this.
I'm really saddened by. I think a lot of it has to do with everyone trying to be politically correct. They don't want to say this guy did it or that guy did it. We kind of want, and then we want to stay positive. We're in the real estate industry. We want to stay positive. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. I think there's forces out there that have deliberately. I think supply chain is one. We didn't mention that in the pre-show, but in my thought, I think supply chain has a lot of, we talk about inflationary. Well, what caused inflation? Well, the government's printed all this money. Well, yes, that was one part, but I think they've doubled down on it in some other areas in supply chain. Having been with a large builder, the lender for a large builder for 3 years of previously, we were getting the situation where the house was built and they had to go back to the guy and say, well, we need an extra 40,000 because that's, they were unable to predict what that cost of building that house was. And it wasn't because we're lacking trees, but the regulations the government's put on there forcing, the cost of a lot of things to go up. That's my personal opinion, is the administration's attitude has caused attitude in multiple areas, obviously printing money, like you said, spending like a drunk sailor. They're spending like Congress, and then also doubling down with regulations is driving these inflationary costs, crunching the middle person, driving the affordability up. Now they finally raise interest rates, which they should have done years ago, at least incrementally, to all of a sudden just boom, practically overnight. And all of a sudden, boom, nothing's affordable anymore. That's kind of my angle on it a little bit. And when these people were talking about, the interest rates are going to go to below 6 last summer, I don't know what they were smoking, but and these are people that get paid money to give their opinion. My opinion's free. But go ahead, tell me what your angle is.
Yeah, in order to really fully and comprehensively discuss this, we have to go back to like the 2010s when quantitative easing started, right? And so when people say, the government's printing money, that's really what it is. They're introducing new money into the circulation by issuing government bonds, right, to specifically companies and banks and everything, so that they can borrow money cheaply and then issue it as loans to stimulate economy, right? That's the explain like I'm 5 version of quantitative easing, okay? So what happens though is what determines what money is worth is the money supply, right? So when you increase the amount of supply, which I've heard is 4x in the last few years or something, or the last whatever, we've been increasing monetary supply. Just by increasing the supply of dollars will devalue every dollar, which causes inflation. Now, I want to carry something through here. I, as a avid real estate investor, also investor in the stock market, okay, most of my world is tied up into assets, okay? So we're gonna tell the tale of 2 people here. Number one, me, or someone like me who invests the majority of their income into things that are assets, right? And I'm gonna talk about the normal middle-class person who has money in a car and a boat and an RV and student loans and credit cards. We're gonna talk about the effects of inflation on those 2 people because they're widely different, okay? So the easy money policy of quantitative easing caused the stock market over the last 20 years to explode, right? Money has been cheap to get. Companies have grown because it's cheap for them to grow their businesses by borrowing money. Earnings per share look great, etc., right? So let's fast forward to COVID, which actually our national debt had started ticking down right before COVID, okay? Now, COVID obviously caused mass unemployment, and for people to not, starve to death, and how the housing market to
panic.
Go under.
I don't know if anyone was going to starve, but panic.
Well, yeah, but the point is, like, people lost their income, and unemployment rate shot up to like 15%, 20%, something like that. So the government had to issue money into circulation by giving, the Trump era stimulus checks, whatever, during COVID, to keep people in their homes and eating, right? But what happens when you introduce money into circulation, it floats to the top, right? It ends up going to companies, right? People paid off their credit cards during that time, but what people did was they paid off their credit card and then went and bought a Louis Vuitton purse. So that money, that stimulus money, doesn't stay in the middle class, it floats to the top always. So if you introduce $1 trillion new dollars, 80% of that money, look it up, goes to the top. And okay, let's talk about those 2 people again. Who does that help? That doesn't help.
I love that analogy. When you hear whether it's Reagan's trickle down or Biden's his thing is trickle. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. You influx, they go out and buy a new TV. They go out and do Best Buy and Costco. Those guys, those investors are actually the ones who get the money in the long run.
And because I have $1 million in investable assets, all the companies that I purchase, right, go up in value, which makes me money, right? That is what has been happening, right? So the tale of the two people. Number one, I love inflation. Not me, but this person, right? Who has a lot of assets. The more inflation goes up, the more money I make. This person here, the more inflation goes up, the less my money is worth, because I'm spending my time to make a certain amount of money. My time is now worth more. And then I feel like I can't get out of this cycle. That's what's happening right now. Okay. So then fast forward to COVID, obviously we printed a bunch of money because we had to. Okay. Then let's go post COVID, when then supply chains confounded this whole issue, right? So then the goods cost more because we have less ships coming out of China, and there's a backlog of ships in LA and blah, 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 because of policy. Okay. So that compounded the effect of easy money inflation happening, right? Then we had an explosion in housing, because what did they do during COVID? The Federal Reserve raised interest, or lowered interest rates to zero, which caused mortgages to be 2.5% to 3.5%. So what happens in inflationary times, right? Easy money times, assets go up in value. So that's why we've seen a 40% appreciation of homes in the last 3 to 4 years, which we won't see again, by the way, even when interest rates come down, all of you that think that way. Okay. So we've not only had inflation in the market, the stock market, with companies making a ton of money from easy money, we've had inflation in the housing market, and now homes are really crazy high, which again, this person who invests loves that, but this person who doesn't gets crushed by that. Okay. So then what we saw is this. So in order to fix all this, right, and then we had the supply chain issue. So there's really three things at play here. So then inflation hit 9% in June of 2022. Okay, and that is between 2021 and 2022, it's a 9% increase year over year. So then the Federal Reserve said, holy crap, we got to fix this. And because we've printed so much money, really the only two levers we had to fix this were increase interest rates and do the opposite of quantitative easing, which is quantitative tightening. And that's when the Federal Reserve takes money out of circulation slowly to decrease the money supply, to increase the value of the dollar. And if you have seen, the dollar's actually gotten stronger against the euro over the past few years, and that's because of that quantitative tightening. Okay, but again, and that has caused the markets to be a little unsure of what's happening. Earnings per share took a hit for companies, but what did they do to fix it? Layoffs. There's been, I just posted this on my Facebook the other day. We've lost a million full-time jobs in the last 12 months. But I'm sorry, we've lost 677,000 full-time jobs in the last 12 months, but we added 1 million part-time jobs. So it makes the unemployment number look okay, and that's including government jobs. Okay.
And that confuses the market as well.
Exactly.
Because they're going, oh, what's the unemployment rate? As if they're using...
Like, oh, it's great. It's only 3.8%.
They're using numbers like they used back in 2018 or something. And no, they're fudging that so they can sell it to the consumer that are, the people, hey, unemployment's good, but it's like you said, it's part-time jobs.
Yep. So then interest rates increase, we do quantitative tightening, and that started, as when interest rates started coming up in late 2021, right? And then we've had this process going for now 2+ years, and we've seen inflation come down from 9% down to, it was like 2.8 at one point, okay? But what does that mean?
Do you think really?
Well, yeah, I actually do think really. I do think really. But what people fail to understand, and what is reported, people are saying, oh, inflation's going down. That doesn't mean the price of things are decreasing. It means they're getting worse slower. Okay, if I said, man, it was really pouring outside and I'm soaked, and then I said, well, oh, now it's sort of trickling, you're still getting wet. You're just getting wet slower. Okay? And so like I said earlier, the cumulative effect of inflation over the last 3 years is over 20%. That means $100 that you had in 2020 in January is now worth 80. Okay, so again, for me, who has all my money in assets, that's a 20% boom in the price of my assets. But someone who doesn't invest, their money is worth 20% less. Okay, that's the tale of the Wall Street and the Main Street. What's being reported is the Wall Street stuff. What's not being reported, and what I am sounding the alarm about, is the Main Street stuff.
Which we're all feeling.
Yes,
we go to the grocery store, we're feeling that.
And we're confused because we watch the news and we say, I don't understand, because the government and MSNBC and everything is saying, oh, the economy is great, which for me, it's wonderful because all my money is in assets, right? and dividend producing assets. It's great. Right. However, for the normal person who doesn't speak fluent money language, and we're going all the way back to the beginning of this episode, you're getting crushed. and that's who we're helping. So my forecast, and I was on a podcast, I think in January, I'm losing track at this point. They asked me, what do you think interest rates will be at the end of 2024? And this is when everyone was high on the 6 rate cuts in 2024. Every real estate agent that follows you and probably on social media was saying, rates are going to come down and now is the great time to buy before their big rush. I'm here saying, okay, no. First of all, no. Second of all, rates will end at 6.9 to 7.25. That's what I said in January. And
That's
rates
rough.
over
We're higher than that right now, slightly. Yeah.
So between December and January, the 10-year Treasury went down like 1.5 points, and it's all the way back up to almost what it was in the fall. And we're back up to 7+ mortgage rates if you have good credit. And people are feeling the crunch, and the real estate market's slowing down. My portfolio is losing money, and it would be irresponsible for the Federal Reserve. They should. I just posted this again on my Facebook the other day. The Federal Reserve should not decrease interest rates in 2024. It is irresponsible to do so. As much as it would be great for lenders, as much as it would be great for real estate agents, as much as if they lowered rates, it would be amazing for me because my assets would explode in value. It's not healthy for this person over here, this Main Street person. It will kill them.
I think there was a portion of those people were thinking politically they were going to do some being an election year. They thought politically that's I think what a lot of people were riding on, not logically like you're talking about what's actually happening physically out there in our money world. They just thought, well, they'll just do something because it's an election year.
Well, also that shows a lack of understanding of how the government works, because the Federal Reserve is an apolitical, separate entity.
We'd like to think so.
Than it is. Well, that's how it's. But I have to say, as much crap as Jerome Powell's gotten, I actually believe he's doing the hard thing right now. The best thing and the best thing for him personally and politically would be to lower interest rates. He'd be a hero. I mean, my portfolio would look great. However, it would kill and crush like a bug the average consumer. And he's doing the responsible thing in resisting this. I'm not saying that the federal branch, the executive branch can't lobby the Federal Reserve. Right. I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm saying that they're responsible to be apolitical, and they've done a good job so far.
Let's finish up. Walk through that part, because like a lot of people say, oh, if the rates just drop, things are just because we're in our real estate world, right?
Yeah.
So they came in and did something and actually got the rate down. You know, as IT people,
it's 3.8. Inflation is 3.8 the last month.
If the 30-year fix was 5.875, we'd have. My lights are on. Was 5.875. We'd probably have a little bit of rush because there's a psychological thing with that. You know, sick. But
immediately,
explain to you why that would crush.
Yeah, because inflation would immediately spike. So just like we had easy money policy when interest rates were zero, that caused the inflation that we had, right? As soon as we lower inflation, the markets will go, oh, it's over. Money will flood into the stock market, and it will cause assets to increase, and inflation again will increase. So people won't be crushed by their house payment being a little bit lower if they buy homes. That's not what will crush them. What will crush them is we will go right back into inflationary spiral up. There will be a market crash up, which for me, again, will cause me to make a ton of money, but not the average consumer. Yeah. So while price increases have decreased over the last couple of years from 9 to 5 to 3 approximately, that's because of these tightening money policies that have caused it to go down. As soon as they loosen that, there will be a gap up in inflation again. It's already happening, and we're keeping rates the same. Yeah. So I think it is responsible for the Federal Reserve to not decrease rates the whole year, although some of my investments will get harmed if they do so. It's just a responsible thing for them to do. And I believe the 10-year Treasury will end somewhere around 4.2 to 4.6. The mortgage rates will be 6.9 to 7.25. I still say that in December 31st of 2024.
No, I agree with you. Totally agree with you. All of Bruce's contact information will be in the show notes. I would, anytime you want to come, even if it's just to go on live for 15 minutes, just to produce some good content. I mean, even if it's remotely from your computer at home, say, hey, we got, here's the market. Matter of fact, we might even set something up regularly just to come on, as I was talking about my real estate channel we're developing, to come on, because I think people need a gut check. And unfortunately, I don't know if these people, they thought they're going to get more subscribers if they give positive news or something. But after a year of not even being close, you would think they would lose subscribers. So
there's a reason why I wasn't getting much traction during the easy money times. And then as soon as economic hardship hit, our company exploded. I mean, exploded is it has grown.
Yeah.
So, I laugh and it's wonderful because we're helping people, but it's real issue.
Is there going to be a time you're going to stick with Eli Lilly for at least till you're this 40 goal?
So yeah, the goal is we'll be financially independent by age 40, and that at that point we can decide to stay in pharma or not. Okay,
Right.
Now, a month after month, that is getting closer and closer because our company is growing, and it's to the point where I either have to bring on more coaches or find a better way to leverage myself to grow it more. But like we have 10 monthly online coaching subscribers. We have 7 people that were in our spring class that we're helping. We have 6 people in the summer that we've helped start them already. So we're actively coaching 23 people right now. Plus the people who are doing the passive income investing, which is another few people. My calendar's booked solid.
Right. And I think the testament is a lot. This is word of mouth. These are other people saying, oh my God, Bruce and Jacqueline know what they're talking about. You need to tune into them, and you're growing, which is just a total testament to obviously the great advice you're giving. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, I loved it. This is a great 2 hours.
Thanks, Bruce.